Hi everyone, my name is Ashley and I'm a third year veterinary student at St. George's University. And today I actually received a request from one of you to go over my academic background before I applied to vet school. I actually did have 2 college classes I took during my high school summers at Cornell University, which did transfer to my undergraduate school. For undergrad, I went to the University of Findlay in Ohio for 4 years for my Bachelor of Science in Animal Science Pre-Vet. The University of Findlay was definitely a very tough program, but it really did prepare me well for vet school. I'm going to go over the classes that I had from each semester, and I will put that on the screen as I start talking about that particular semester so you can see what type of classes I ended up taking. Because at Findlay we did get to choose a lot of our electives during the later terms, so I'll make sure to point out which ones actually really did help me in vet school and what I wish I had taken instead. For my first semester, it was pretty generic on what type of classes we had to take. So I had to take basic chemistry, I had to take intermediate mathematics, I had to do a college writing course, college reading course I think this term. Honestly, my favorite class out of that term was probably the equine practice class because we actually got to handle live animals. The University of Findlay does have a teaching farm for the pre-vet students so they can get experience working with livestock and equine. For my second semester at Findlay, I did quite a lot of generic classes again. I did general chemistry 1, and honestly, I did not do well with chemistry at all during my time at Findlay, and I wish I had went to a different university to take it because the teaching styles at Findlay just weren't very helpful for me to learn in that subject. My favorite class this term was doing the hands-on with the food animals this time. And I got to work with pigs, cows, goats, and sheep. We even did have one donkey who was not the nicest patient, but it was pretty funny working with him all the time. And we did have some llamas and alpacas as well that we worked with. So we got to do quite a lot of hands-on stuff. Actually, that was probably the first time that I did my piglet castration, and that was so exciting to experience. And we also did dehorning, we did tail docking, we learned a lot about nutrition and how to actually feed these animals and make sure that they didn't get bloat or anything. So it was a really fun class. During semester 3, I did not do very well academically. Actually, my first year of undergrad was probably the best year I had at Findlay. It just kind of went downhill from there. So I actually did end up with 3 C's during the 3rd semester in biology, chemistry, and nutrition. Nutrition is probably one of those classes that I would personally recommend that you take if given the opportunity, because that will help you in vet school when you have to take any sort of nutrition class, because that is a big part of what we do as veterinarians. We talk a lot about diets and how to actually feed our animals correctly. So that class I would highly recommend on doing at some point if you can. During this semester, I also got to pick a writing selective to finish off my English literature classes, and I actually decided to do the Intro to Writing for Sciences, and that was probably one of the best decisions I made at Findlay because that class prepared me so well for reading scientific journals and writing feasibility reports, creating presentations and posters, and it was very intensive, but it really put me out there to start getting more involved in research. For my semester 4 classes, I again did get 3 C's. One was in a lab for biology, and one was for the actual lecture for biology, and I got a C in organic chemistry. I also did take a reproduction class, which was required in the curriculum at Findlay, and that was also another great class that I would highly recommend that you take if you can, because you'll be doing a lot of reproduction stuff in vet school. It is just a very large part of our field, especially if you get into large animals. For semester 5, I again did not have a very good academic year. I actually failed my first class in organic chemistry too. This term was just so difficult because I made a very bad mistake. Please don't do this. Do not take a bunch of hard classes at the same time. Put in a few classes that you know are going to be a little bit easier and not as heavy material. As you can see, I was in organic chemistry, I was in physics, and I was in biology. During semester 6, I decided to take a little bit of a break from the heavy science classes, and I think I only had physics and chemistry at that point. But whatever's on the screen right now is the actual classes I had that term. I just couldn't remember it off the top of my head because it's been a long time since I was in undergrad. It feels like a long time ago. This was actually the first semester that I got to pick what animal science electives I wanted to take at Findlay, and I chose Principles of Meat Science to start off with. And that was actually such an enjoyable class. It was a lot of work, but it made so much more sense on where our meat actually came from and how it actually happened, because it gave me a little bit of physiology knowledge about muscle contractions, and you talk so much about that in vet school once you get to a physiology course. During the summer, I did take a cell biology intro class, and that actually was very helpful. During semester 7, it was, again, not a very good academic year. I did get to choose 2 animal science electives, and I decided to choose the forage and crop production and food safety. So you will talk a lot about food safety once you do get to vet school, because there's such a big component of what we do as well with large animal veterinarians. Next on my list is the Advanced Animal Nutrition course, and I actually did have to withdraw from this class after my midterm because I failed it that badly, and if I had stayed in the class I would have gotten an F on my report card. I actually did end up passing organic chemistry 2 this term. I decided not to do it the previous term because I had already had my schedule made before I found out that I didn't pass the first time. I did end up failing cell biology, which was not good because that was, again, another elective that I was taking at the same time as advanced nutrition, and it just was a very tough class. During my semester 8, this is actually when COVID happened, and it shut down my university like it did to so many schools in the US and across the world. I got kicked off campus, and I was taking some extremely difficult courses again. I was in swine production and management, I was in biochemistry, and I was in microbiology, and trying to do that lab online was very challenging because no one knew what was going on at that time, and no one was prepared to go to online fully. Grade-wise, again, I did not do very well, and I actually ended up failing biochemistry. For the human genetics and the microbiology class, those courses were very helpful once I did get into vet school, so I would highly recommend those as well. For my additional semester doing biochemistry and cell biology, it ended up going much better. I still didn't get the best grades, but I at least passed, so I could end up with my undergrad degree. And since I was applying to vet school again for the second time, I did decide to do a medical terminology course as well, which I would highly recommend anyone do because that really does help once you get into the surgical stuff, I applied to vet school 3 times before I was finally accepted. So if you do want me to go into more detail about that part, I can definitely go into more detail. Overall, my GPA at the University of Findlay was a 3.22 for my cumulative GPA, and for the science GPA, it was a little bit over a 2.8. So I did not have the best grades when I was accepted to vet school, and I actually got into 3 vet schools during my 3rd application cycle. So it is doable. You can do it. I didn't do any schooling after that because I was done with it. So I did take 2 gap years before I got into vet school. Some of the courses that I would suggest you take is anatomy and physiology. Those 2 classes would have really helped me in vet school because you go through so much of that when you get to your first year. And having some knowledge background of that would have really helped. Then I would highly recommend taking a histology class if your university offers it, or embryology. And I would honestly recommend that you take any class that you find remotely interesting. That is going to be it for today's video, and I do hope this was helpful, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like and subscribe for more, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!